What's up? Welcome to the Untitled Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Simmons, and I'm here with two other gentlemen, my co-hosts, my older brother, Joey. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? How y'all feeling today? We're about to discuss some basketball and get into it because it's getting hot.
All right, and last but not least is my pops, patriarch of the family, Joel Simmons.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Okay, well, first up, we got to talk about the Bucks versus the Heat playoff series, which ended in 5 games for the Bucks. You know, the Bucks, they was the number 1 seed in the East. They also had the overall best record, I think, in the NBA, and they, go out in 5. It was unfortunate, though. Giannis was hurt, so he didn't play the other night, but they at least put up some type of an effort. They didn't just, kind of just let it down and give it away to the Heat. The Heat had to really go win it. So what y'all think about that series?
It's one of them unfortunate things where you have injuries. And sometimes I guess the team, they kind of get in over their head and sometimes they just get beat. Sometimes it's just like simple as that. You just get beat sometimes.
Well, I tell you, I can cut it. I can just cut it to the bone. The Bucks are still, to me, a work in progress. They could use some help in the backcourt, definitely, and also they could use a wing player that can get a shot. It's very definite, and the other team saw it too. That Milwaukee is a one donkey team, basically. I mean, they stand around and they wait on the Greek Freak to make it happen, but he's going to have some help. The off season is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's what we said in the last episode, that they should be trying to reach out to Chris Paul. And I've seen different articles, supposedly those are the rumors, about what they're looking to do next year is try to reach out for Chris Paul. But with that money, I don't know how that's going to add up because Giannis getting about 100-some million now as it is. And I don't know how they're going to. I think Bledsoe's making a pretty good amount too, so I know they would probably have to trade him and some other little pieces, but I think they should go ahead and do it because, you don't want the alternative to be Giannis just leaves for nothing like Durant did when he left OKC. So if I'm them, I'm trying to go all in as best I can to, try to figure something out.
Yeah, because that current cast they have now, they got some good players, but it's just it's one of the things they just don't like. They trying to go to the next level, and it's probably his fault that the highest that ceiling that team they have now has. So they're gonna have to get some. You gotta have to, I guess, do like the rest of the NBA. You just gotta have a bunch of get you some shooters, some guys that can run up and down the floor, shoot threes and slash to the basket.
But that's what they supposedly have. But I guess go ahead, Dad.
No, well, what I was going to say is some a lot of these teams are almost like a kid. Some kids you can leave them alone; they're going to do just pretty much what you want them to do. But some kids have to be sort of directed. I think Chris Paul with his mentality. And he has a little edge to him, and I think that team, Milwaukee, they need somebody to sort of push him at certain times to kind of reinforce some things that the coaches talked about. And a lot of times players will take it better what they need to do from a player, a guy who's actually out there, who's been in the trenches, than from a coach.
What do you think Giannis should do in the offseason to improve his game? He's already, looks like he's going to be the MVP again this year. And I've heard some people say he should possibly try to work out with Elijah One, but I also say he should try to work out with Trace McGrady. I think he says his door is open. He wants to help young, he's younger than him, but young, players, current players in the NBA, and especially with the void, the passing of Kobe. Kobe was seemed like he was doing that, starting this, the Mamba Academy, and I think he should probably try to work out with McGrady or possibly even Elijah One to get a little post game or sky hook or some type of mid-range, because I don't think he necessarily needs to just shoot up threes like everybody else. I think he should get a pretty good post game first, and then spread out, just get the mid-range like Kawhi, and then kind of, go out from there then.
Well, yeah, but he's going to have to decide what he wants to be in a lot of ways. You think about it. I've watched him throughout the year, and to me, a lot of times when he does attack the goal, it's like he's doing it's too much work. It's too much motion that he has. That's why I was trying to say, like, you got to have another player that can get him in some better positions where he doesn't have to do all these ridiculous moves, because he's a big man, and we know one thing about big men: something's gonna pop, a snap, a crack, and he needs a little. I don't know. Years ago, they had what they call a big man's academy. They had a guy who worked with big men, and a lot, you made a good point about Olajuwon, or even like you said, Tracy McGrady. Those guys could teach him a few of the little things that he has all the ability in the world. But sometimes you just need somebody to kind of go in there with you and kind of repackage what you're doing and take out some things out of your game that you really don't really need. And I like the idea of what you were talking about a mid-range game. I love that mid-range game. That 2 points is a lot better. Sometimes you need a basket. And a mid-range game is sort of like disappearing. Everybody now wants to shoot threes.
Let's give credit to the Heat. Like, I got to go and give them their credit. They put them away. Like, Tyler Hero played big towards the end. He made a lot of clutch threes. Jimmy played good, both sides of the floor. Like, I'm kind of Jimmy critic somewhat, but Jimmy did play well, and also just that whole team. Like, they hit you from every angle. Like the guards, the bigs, they play tough defense. They're never really out of a game because they were up. I think Milwaukee was up at one point by like 12 or something, or 14 at one point in the second quarter. I want to say, and they. Eventually just cut it down. But although, of course they didn't have Giannis, but still. Yeah. And they played ball. They're going on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, you beat whoever you're up against. That's the key. I don't care if it's the Keystone Cops you're playing, you beat them.
Yeah, it just go back to I think how Miami builds their teams, like with Pat Riley, making sure them guys have a certain amount of body fat. They always be in shape. They just seem more durable. Like they run up and down the floor, just all 4 quarters. Play a lot of them. They might not play like Ron Artest level elite defense, but they will give like a solid effort. I will give them that.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next playoff series, the Atlantic, the Celtics versus the Raptors. Double overtime game. Toronto pulls it off by 3 points, and it was just a tough game on both sides. Like, there was some scratch your head moments, but I think at a certain time, like, fatigue set in for both teams. Even though I know the Celtics are the younger team, but they said, I think it was a record today. I think about 5 or 6 players, I think on both teams played up to 50 minutes, and they said it's one of the first times that's happened in the playoffs, like, ever, I want to say. And Tatum, he struggled really early in the game. He kind of figured something out towards the end. Kimball really struggled the entire game, and he had a couple clutch shots at certain points. But Toronto, they pulled it off. I guess the championship, what they call championship medal. I guess they figured something out and they got it done.
I'm gonna tell you something about what I know is about Toronto, and you remember when they named Nick Nurse as the coach? I never heard of him or anything, but basically, I think Nick Nurse knows how to bring a team along. It seems like. I mean, in the beginning of the series, Siakam had last year. You remember he had Kawhi, and then they would complain, well, he don't have Kawhi now. But I think that coach gets in their heads. Evidently he doesn't get excited. You know what I'm talking about? And I think he's impressed upon those guys just to go out there and play. Just have some fun, man. You playing with the house money. They didn't expect them to be vying for the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, so they looking at it like that to the point where they have nothing to lose, basically. They're just playing with your money.
The entire game, really, the Celtics, they pretty much had them for a lot of different portions of the game. They would be up 8, up 11, but then Toronto would just keep clawing back like they never they never put him away. Like, I remember Michael Jordan said this, played against the Jazz in '98. He was like, that game 6, he was like, the Jazz never put us away, so I always knew we had a chance. And I think that's the same way the Raptors looked at it. They were like, they didn't put us away, so we still got it. And Kyle Lowry, he played huge. Like, I know Kyle Lowry is probably one of the worst, I think, playoff scoring records like ever. But since they won the championship and even going into last year, he's been playing real good because he hit clutch baskets, clutch steals. Like, you got to give him his props. Like, he was everywhere. He was getting strips. He was making timely threes. And, Van Vliet as well. He scored clutch baskets. Siakam played good down the stretch. And Nick Nurse did a good strategy. He put OG at the 5s. Like, like...
That causes problems for them.
Yeah.
That's almost a misstep. What are you doing there here?
Because they cut off, like, pretty much the paint. Whereas, like, you couldn't... Kimmel would get in there, but it's like you dealing with still a guy that's 6'8" and physical, and they just played tough. Like, their whole team is like they whatever it is, they just come in and do it.
They don't have a problem with if one guy isn't going, somebody else is gonna pick them up, and that's a true medal of a team that's on the rise. If this guy doesn't have it tonight, then you know what? I got to score about 3 or 4 more extra points, maybe play a little better defense. And I think that's what the mentality that Nick Nurse has for the Raptors. They'll just do whatever's necessary to win.
And what also was a couple of head scratches. I think it was leading to the first overtime, or it might have been going to overtime. The Raptors had the ball last, and they let Norman Powell take the last shot on Kemba, and I was like, that was kind of head scratching. It was like they just went 4 flat, and then all of a sudden you thought Kyle Lowry came up like he's gonna set a screen, so like, they're gonna do something tricky, but it's like he just stopped, and then they just ISO'd him on Kemba Walker. Then he does some crazy step back. I was like, because that could have been a huge blunder if they didn't pull his game off. But luckily, Kyle Lowry he did really close him out in the second overtime. And Boston, they had their chance. It was some controversy about Nick Nurse. He was damn near on the court. Like, he was in the corner.
Yeah.
The coach's box, they're supposed to be in a box. And I don't know if people notice that hash mark, the coach is not supposed to go past that line. Yeah. Nick Nurse was in the corner on the floor, like squatting down, and Tatum, he drove to the basket left, and he saw somebody in his peripheral. He passed it to Nick Nurse, and then like that, the rest know they're not supposed to be that far, and they kind of just let it. Yeah, it's kind of like a mishap. But I think Jaylen Brown spoke on it after the game, saying, people need to control themselves. We all adults, grown men. So
yeah. Well, here's the deal. You played. These guys have been playing this game since they were 5 and 6 years old. I mean, sometimes you're gonna have some strange things to step into a basketball game, and I'm sure that early in this series when that guy, what was that ref made that horrible call, where who was it? They won with no time left.
Yeah, the Milwaukee.
Bucks. To me, that was how many times you see that kind of play. That was a terrible play, really. But that's part of the game. I mean, a lot of things are not going to be perfect.
I guess we're going over everything. Who y'all got? It's Game 7. Probably, I want to say it's about to be Thursday. I would say probably Saturday, I assume.
Yeah, probably.
Who y'all think going to take it?
I think the Celtics probably going to go ahead and finish them off, because I doubt if Tatum played. I know I ain't see too much of the game. I just know people were saying that Tatum was playing kind of bad. And I don't see him playing bad 2 times in a row. I figure they're going to close him out.
Earlier I would have picked the Celtics, but I got a feeling about this this Toronto team that they might not be through. So I'm gonna pick Toronto in a tight game.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm going wishy-washy, but I think Toronto is too. I kind of watching it, it was like Toronto still never panicked, and they just kept. I don't know how to describe them. They're like they kind of. I think people haven't said it, they really like the Detroit Pistons of old. With Tayshaun and them, it's like they have hypothetically Kyle Lowry's the all-star. Siakam was all-star this year, but they have a collective group of people that can get 12 or 13 points.
Yeah.
That's tough to beat. That's tough to deal with
that's scary.
If 15 people, 8 players are getting 12 points. Yeah. Like you don't know really what to do. And that's what they seem like. Whatever night it is, like, okay, well, tonight it was Kyle Lowry's night, but other nights it's been Van Vliet, or it'll be Ibaka. Ibaka hit like 6 threes, I think, tonight. Yeah. So it's like they hit you from each.
But one thing that Toronto has too, they have this big man. I mean, sometimes we kind of underestimate him. He plays a pretty good game too. He causes a little havoc inside there. And I don't think Boston has anybody really of any substance to match up with him. You know what I'm saying? I think he can shoot. And he understands basically the game, a big man's game.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. We gonna find out. I guess it's still good. We getting extra basketball, and how the world was going. We didn't think we even get here. So, and next up we got the Lakers versus the Rockets. I hate to say this, I'm not a Laker fan. I'm not a big LeBron fan, but LeBron, he was playing last night. Like he looked like LeBron from 2009, 2010. He was blocking. He had like 4 blocks. Westbrook, he tried to go on him. LeBron threw it into the stands. Doc Rivers' son, he blocked him, pinned it on the glass. It was James Harden, he got him. I was like, LeBron was just flying around, and they did a real good job. Well, Harden still had like 34, but they did a different type of trap that I hadn't seen anybody do yet. They pushed him baseline, so he's off to his right, and LeBron or whoever's at the top, defending their guy, they would come in Harden's blind side, and Harden wouldn't see him, and then when he would try to come back around, you got 2 people, LeBron in your face. Yeah. LeBron 6'8", big wingspan. That gave them a lot of problems, but for the most part, Houston still was in it, but it looked like towards the end, they just ran out of gas. It was like they were just...
They just warmed down, basically. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I think that, like, this next game, I think Houston will come back and put it on them. I just think they kind of one of them teams, too, that's kind of, there's something they're missing. We can all say they need a big man in the middle, but every now and then they can kind of get to a point where they're pushed in the corner and they'll come back out, and somebody who you're not expecting will come out and have a big game plus Harden. So that's that. So I picked them in the next game. I mean, maybe a close one.
After that game, man, I mean, pretty much showing that LeBron, he should be the MVP. To be in year 17,
oh boy,
be 35, with pretty much one superstar, one guy he can depend on, and to take it to that level he did last night, to just on both sides of the ball, man, that's
impressive.
That's impressive.
I give people that do, but what did AD do? What was his stats?
I couldn't say. He had he might have finished over like at least 20.
He had 20 plus. Okay. Well,
see, this is like a caveat. AD is like in the playoffs. I looked it up earlier. AD is like at number 5 in playoff points. That kind of gets thrown under the table. Like they're like, oh well, that don't matter. Like you got to factor in AD's a top 5. Arguably probably the best power forward in the NBA. Let's just be honest. Yeah. And that sometimes he doesn't get his just due a lot of times with LeBron's greatness. LeBron's a great player, but it's like they kind of gloss over like, oh well, AD did have like 34, 12, and 4 blocks also. Yes. And like you can't. Giannis is the MVP, man. We talking about the regular season. Like I know he didn't play too well in the bubble. Mm-hmm. Like you can't deny that, but like to go and say, "Oh no, since they fizzled out, man, he's not the MVP no more." Dirk Nowitzki did that years ago. He won MVP and they lost to the Warriors. We believe Warriors.
Yeah.
In the first round. So it's not unprecedented that a MVP lost. Giannis lost in the second round, but
yeah.
I give LeBron his props. Or somebody else you got to give props to. I didn't see this coming. Is Ray John Rondo. Yeah. He steps up, he scores 20 points, plays defense. He was annoying Harden, messing with Westbrook.
Yeah.
He's making good passes, and he hit 2 threes. Like if he hitting threes, like you pretty much in trouble. That's just a bonus.
Oh yeah.
On top of everything, and that was he played pretty well. And their bench, Kuzma he played real well. He was cutting to the basket, and they just had a good team effort. It's like Houston deflates you hitting those threes, because I saw LeBron looking mad like on some of them rotations, but it's like you just gotta withstand them for a while. It's like they gonna hit them. Like you just gotta deal with it. You might play great defense to the last second, and they'll hit a bomb, and it's like dang, man. But the Lakers kept on them, and they just fourth quarter they just ran. It's like, well, we finna go to another give. Y'all gonna stay here, and that's what pretty much happened.
Yeah. Well, you talk about Houston. That's another team too. They got to go up under the hood and make some adjustments. I mean, I understand it's small ball stuff, but you can just ride that just so far. I think you got to have at least 1 or 2 big men at least.
Yeah, like last night. I know I give props to PJ Tucker for getting down there, getting with Anthony Davis and trying to hold down the paint.
Yeah.
But at the same time, last night when AD was getting, like, to me, AD scored, but he played some real good defense and was kind of active last night everywhere. To me, that's what they could have used. I know Capella ain't like Akeem Olajuwon, but still you need like a big body, somebody to lean on Anthony Davis all game and just disrupt him and keep him off center. Like last night, PJ Tucker, he a great player, but he couldn't guard him, man.
Well, the thing is, I'm a lot older than you guys are, so I remember when they had people like Bob Lanier and Willis Reed and Wes Unseld and those guys who go down on that block down there. And I'm sorry, sometimes you need a big body. I just think a basketball team got to be made up of some different pieces. You got to have some shooters. You got to have some big bodies. You got to have what do you call it, an enforcer. You got to have all this kind of stuff. You got to have a 1 or 2 old vets who are, who can talk to some of these younger players. I think sometimes the moment gets kind of big for some of these young players.
Also, there's a story, I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but I saw the Woj, he said something about it. Daniel House, he was missing from the last game. They said it was personal reasons, but there have been rumblings saying he somehow snuck some young lady into the bubble, and I hope that ain't true. Like he wasn't drafted. It's a fun fact. I think he was with the Warriors. So I think when they're doing their run, he was in the G League, and that's for some reason they couldn't keep him. I think it might have been their first year Durant got hurt, and they had to sign Matt Barnes, so they needed that roster spot. But I could be wrong. Like don't quote me on that, but. I saw Woj said it today. They said there's been an investigation about that, because I'm not for sure if he's playing the next game, because he was sorely missed. Like he's a shooter. He's good size forward that could have helped out. You just need bodies after a while.
The physicality of that game,
that's what I think.
Rust them can just do so much.
Yeah, I think after a while it was just like they just. Like, man, I just can't. Like PJ Tucker, I saw LeBron hit him one time. Kind of haphazardly, but it's still a hit. Like he hit him, he sat down for a minute. It's like, man. Then think about he had to wrestle with
AD.
No, not AD. Steven Adams. He had to wrestle with him.
Oh yeah,
the series before for 7 games.
Yeah.
I think Tony said something like that. It's like they kind of getting worn down, but it's like that's what they do. D'Antoni's gonna play 7 players and they gonna run.
Yeah,
and like that it just catches up with you.
You gotta have your team built for situational stuff. Like I was talking about having them big men. Sometimes you need a big man, and then not necessarily he gonna score no points or nothing, but just to set some picks and knock some of these other guys around a little bit. Where make them feel the game a little bit. If a guy just getting free on every play, a team has to be made up of different pieces, and it has to be built with the mindset that certain situations are going to develop during the game. And you have to think about that, say, well, sometimes I might need someone to come in to play a little bump and run, somebody to lean on LeBron a little bit, to lean on AD. Don't let AD run wild back there. You letting them guys get loose. LeBron has nobody he got to be manhandling with or wrestling with. Sometimes you have a wrestler on your team just so old guy can go in there and just, he just wearing him out. He ain't going to score no points, but he going to wrestle with him.
Yeah, because he had Eric Gordon on him,
Yeah, well.
Eric Gordon, he seemed like he got like a little size on him, but LeBron, that's like that's
a grown man.
Yeah, that's like trying to wrestle with like Brock Lesnar or Kurt Angle or something.
Yeah, little bony guy trying to wrestle LeBron.
He got size, but he don't have the height.
He don't have the height. It's like LeBron and them shooting over a chair.
Because that's what I noticed too on this game. LeBron would just run under the rim like the rim runs, like them centers, and I was like, they see that's another wrinkle that he gotta give him his problem. LeBron, I don't remember him doing that in game one. It's like he watched it like, okay, I'm finna pick this spot, I'm gonna do this, and I figure this out. Like LeBron just like really a tactician. Like he kind of like Nick Saban. Like he's like, okay,
this ain't working.
But LeBron has games to do that. But like he'll plot like, okay, I saw what they did. Well, I'm gonna do this and counter that, and then I'm gonna add this. Cause LeBron, he started out pretty good, scoring. I think they're like 12 points in the first quarter, and kind of carried him. So.
And you know what it's going to be like the next game. So that's what I'm saying. Houston can do this, but they're going to have to get out. They're going to get out that gate kind of in a hurry, I think.
Yeah. Cause what y'all think? What you think the Rockets have to do to win the next game to keep it from being 3-1?
Mostly they bench got to come through, and plus they got to get tight. They got to tighten up on defense. Like you can't let Rondo come out the bench and score 20 points. That's unacceptable, man. I know Rondo's, he
playoff Rondo.
Yeah, playoff Rondo. I know he got some cachet in the league, but still, you can't let him get open threes. And now he gonna play defense. I would give him that. He will harass the other team guards, but you can't let him come in there scoring, getting double figures. I spot him 8, but you can't let him get 20. That's a death sentence.
Well, here's the deal. Okay, Rondo wanna do all this here. You know what? I'm gonna put him almost at the top of the game plan. I'm gonna figure out a way to take him out. LeBron is gonna get his. Okay, but I'm gonna put Rondo, if he's gonna be the way he played in this last game, I'm gonna make him do something that he's not used to having to do. See, a lot of times that's the problem. A lot of these old coaches, they knew that. Like Pop would know if somebody was killing him in one area. He said, okay, well, I'm gonna put him in a position where he got to do this or he got to do that. He got to guard this guy. When they have these defensive switches and stuff, I'm gonna put him in a bad situation when he got some old 6'8" guy, and let's see how he defends him. And then one other thing, I preach about this all the time. How about just attacking the basket? I'm serious. How about just attacking the basket, taking the ball inside? You waste all the clock out bouncing around, and then you heist up a three. Go down inside, make them foul you.
Yeah, that's what a lot of. I think he had an okay game, but I noticed he was kind of wary of Anthony Davis, and I was like, Russ usually was like, man, I don't care. He would go in there no matter what, and I guess he kind of. He is older. He still is explosive, but I guess he's kind of wary of LeBron got him. AD, pretty much a shutdown block, shot blocker, and it's like I think it's kind of on him to go in the paint because that's what he essentially kind of plays that center because he really doesn't shoot threes. He started shooting threes these last couple of games. Mm-hmm. That's kind of out of ordinary for him in the recent games, and I think he has attacked the basketball. Harden really played pretty well, but it was like that fourth quarter, they just looked gassed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I just saw on the scroll Eddie House. House Jr. Whatever, I forget his first name, but he's not playing tomorrow, so that's another hit for them. So I don't know what it don't matter. They're gonna play the same 7 guys anyway.
Yeah.
So but he does help. He would have helped.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It seems like the Lakers just withstood them. So I don't know really what too much they can do unless Harden them just go crazy. Harden scores 40.
Harden is just going to have to. That whole team, they're going to come out there and just jump on them early.
Yeah.
All this stuff about they're about 8 and all this stuff, and you playing from behind. Go out there, and I know it's easier said than done, but go out there and hit the Lakers in the mouth. You know, that's what I think. Sometimes teams get a little, well, that's LeBron them and everything. No, hit them in the mouth. Sometimes you have to do that old school stuff. You know, like I said about an enforcer or something. You got to go out there and set the tempo for the Houston Rockets.
That's the beauty of the bubble playoffs. We're going to find out pretty soon. That's going to be faster than you can believe. So we'll head on to the last playoff series, Clippers versus Nuggets. And that was a weird game. I think I want to say the Clippers were up big. Then they let them back in the game, and Kawhi had one of the craziest blocks I ever seen. He blocked the guy with one finger, his middle finger. And the replay, I got kind of nervous. I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine my finger going back there for it probably break. But Kawhi's got probably they say probably one of the biggest hands ever in the NBA. I know it's size of I think it's bigger than Michael Jordan's, Dr. J. I think Chris Webber has pretty big hands, so he. Yep. He withstood it, and the Clippers, they kind of pulled it off towards the end because Jokic was killing them. He was doing sky hooks, he was doing step backs, shooting threes, and Michael Porter Jr. He dunked on Montrez real bad, like he threw it down in his throat, he cocked it back. Yeah,
his dad, his dad. They showed a picture of his dad in the runway. His dad just looked at him and was shaking his head like he said, "Why you do that to that boy?"
Yeah, so it was because I'm impressed with him. Like I remember people saying he was he was like really the top. He should have been a top pick in the draft, but it's physical and he didn't play in college. He hurt his back, so that was a big question mark. But it seems like Denver's pulled off a hell of a move for their future.
That was smart to draft him like that. And you know what? The only thing that boy is going to have to do probably, like you said, get more playing time, and he's going to have to start eating a little bit. He's going to have to get a little bit.
He's a vegan, so I don't know how that's going.
Well, he better get him a vegan cow or something, because I'm going to tell you something. The whole season, a real whole season, man, he's going to be looking like a little wore out little, squirrel hound or something. I mean, he's got to put some meat on him. But that's another kid that we saw him in the preseason. I guess who was that? That center, his dad, Bobo. I think that guy, that kid. If somebody can make a deal, say, well, yeah, we'll take him off your hands. Oh, that to me, like, I see a lot of potential in him. Like, he has for a man that say, I know he's not relevant in this series probably, but he has a lot of potential. I can see a lot of work could be done with him. They can make him into really something special.
Yeah, with that game, shoot, on the Clipper side, Paul George, he played real good. He had 32 points, was filling it up. He kept him in it pretty much the whole game because it seemed like Denver's pretty much focused really on Kawhi. They every time he turns a corner, there's some forward coming at him, or they're loading up. Like he doesn't get Jeremiah Grant. He's not giving him any type of room to really breathe. So Kawhi kind of been a facilitator, and Paul George stepped up. Yeah, playoff P stepped up perfectly, and in spite of that, to help out the team.
That's what they got him for. I mean, you think about it. It's a two-horse, two-tandem team, and with a bunch of role players, specialty guys. They got scorers. They got defensive guys that come in, And I tell you something else who plays well is that big center they got. He doesn't start.
Zubac.
Lubac, yeah. I think he does a pretty good job, for the time he does. And he's kind of physical too. He's not afraid to knock people over. But just sometimes, like I say, you need a physical guy on your team. I don't care. I like these finesse teams. That's good, but I still want me somebody like Oak on the team, so I can look down that bench and see somebody who's gonna go in and take care of some situations.
Denver, they just can't stop that Clippers firepower, man. Once them boys Lou get rolling, Kawhi, and especially Paul George, especially he just started back driving to the basket more. That's hard to stop. When you got three guys that know how to get their shot, that's it.
Yeah, speaking of that, Lou Will, he finally showed up to the series. Like he played real good off the bench. He gave him a little spark, and Montrez, he played pretty good as well. Seemed like he getting his legs on him. It's like, because you kind of forget Montrez, he really hadn't played in the bubble at all. Like he came to it late. Then he left again after his grandmother passed.
His grandmother.
And then he had to quarantine probably for a week or so. So it's like he's pretty much getting everything under, getting his legs under him. Cause that's a big part of this game, is athleticism and its intensity. And it seems like a lot of times, like, man, Montrez usually would dunk it, but he was like laying it up. So it seems like now he's kind of finding his footing, because that's a huge part of their offense, a huge part of their team as well. When he comes in and gives their energy off the bench, of course, and he's the reigning, recently crowned Sixth Man of the Year, so that might have gave him a little boost as well, winning that award. And they just, the Clippers just, they kind of figuring it out now. It's like you see, it's really, somebody mentioned, like, this is the first time really they had their entire team together. Like, everybody's healthy, everybody's actually in the rotation, and you see what they're capable of. Because Denver, they're not a pushover. I thought they were kind of going to roll over, but they're not. Like, they cause a lot of problems.
They cause a bunch of problems. I think what they do is they're to the point where they want them teams, like you said, well, I don't want to fool with them. They kind of scary. Look, you go in there with anticipation on a tough game, but then it's a tougher game than you thought. They got a lot of little young guys who come in and they do what they do. So they got a lot of good shooters, and then they got Jokic. I'm kind of impressed with him, man. He has some nice moves, man.
Oh yeah. It seems like he's been more aggressive for some reason. Hopefully it'll just show him like he can be that more of a scorer. I know he's a great passer and facilitator, but sometimes they just need him like, man, just go on a block and score. Like, sometimes you can't be cute a lot of times in the playoffs. Sometimes you just gotta be rough and rugged. Like, you might, a lot of guys, they do like to be efficient, but sometimes you just like, man, I just need to hit him in the mouth and just, keep him off balance. And this seems like what he's been doing, because the Clippers really don't, Zubac is a pretty good center. Yeah. And he's still young. And then Montrez really is probably about 6'7". He's not tall, so he really can't really bang with Jokic, height-wise. Yeah. And so that's their big advantage. And I think with Denver, I think the coach kind of slipped up. He should have kept in Michael Porter Jr. towards the end of that game. Yeah. Because he had it pretty much going. Like he did, he dunked on Montrez, and the momentum was kind of shifting. And then the only thing, Michael Porter, he's horrible on defense. Like, he forgets who he's guarding, touch fouls, and so I think that's why the coach took him out and put in Jeremiah Grant. Yeah,
but that comes with a young player. You got to take the good with the bad sometimes, and that's good. That coach knows that. He says, well, okay, he can fill it up, but I'm gonna put this other guy. He plays a little better defense. He kind of understands what we're trying to do. And it just might be that, he's just a young guy too, like you said. A lot of those guys that come into the league when they were in college on their team, they were like the big scorers or whatever. They didn't really concentrate on playing a whole lot of defense. I mean, they know what gets them to the NBA.
Yeah, so That's what it was kind of weird because they had Jeremiah Grant. He was taking some of the last shots down the end of the shot clock. I was like, that can't be good. But I guess it's kind of got to live with it. But I guess we're saying all that. That's our last playoff series. We're gonna talk about today on episode 2. And anything else y'all talk about? Oh, well, one thing, it's not major news, but Marvin Williams, he retired after the game. He's like, man, I'm done. I forgot to mention that earlier. He's like, man, I'm done.
He retired?
Yeah, he retired. Mm-hmm. And like he's had a pretty, I ain't gonna say a bad career. He was a number 6 draft pick. And like he didn't reach that level, but he still turned himself into a decent, NBA player. One of the Hawks' blunders is they drafted him over Chris Paul, and they kind of recovered eventually, getting the Joe Johnson era, and, Jamal Crawford, but that was a kind of a big blunder. So I saw that, like, he retired, like he said, man, I'm done. Like
he said, I don't know. Well,
yeah, he stayed about 15, 14.
Probably around, because it's probably like 2005. I think he got drafted, or 2004. One of them years.
Yeah, that's a good career.
So, but he stayed on and figured his game out, and how he could stay in the NBA and made it into a career, made cash checks, like you say, Dad.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those guys. You think about it though. A lot of those guys, you think you making X number of millions of dollars a year, and you really not living that crazy lifestyle. You can do a lot of good bank, man. I mean, if you think about it, you probably say that's enough, man. I'm 33 years old and I can retire. Man.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, he made some. I ain't gonna say he made like top money. I think he did all right.
Yeah, and you know what? That's another thing. Like sometimes I think. We look at these athletes a little differently. Like they play basketball, sure enough, but it's really a job, man. And they probably have days when they say, "Man, I don't feel like practicing today. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sick of this." Just like every other job.
Yep, I always think about Isaiah Thomas. He said he knew he wanted to retire. He said he was just sitting in the pool. He was thinking about training camp. Mm-hmm. He just kept sitting in that pool. He just knew it was it. That was it. He was ready to go.
Yeah. So with that, we gonna get out of here. This is an Untitled Basketball Podcast. I think we're gonna have a name by episode 3. I want to say, and I'm their host, Marcus Simmons. Remember you can check me out on YouTube. Just type in Marcus B. Simmons. I have videos and stuff, and short films, documentaries. That's where our podcast is right now. And also, you can just find me on Facebook, Marcus B. Simmons. And that's where I'll post the upcoming episodes. And on behalf of my brother Joey and my pops, Joel Simmons, thank you all for listening, and peace out.
Peace.
Peace.